back to school season in Nigeria, but for many parents, the excitement comes with financial pressure. Seeing inflation, that's coming down, but still quite elevated. Also seeing currency weakness at this point, even though we've seen stability, with the currency so far. But we're seeing families and households have to adjust, at this time, keeping up with elevated, school fees and other things you need to buy, to send your kids off to school. All right, let's bring in Oladele now. She's the founder, Money With Club, to help us see how we can navigate the textbooks, uniforms, and every other expense you have to go through to get your kids to school. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Ladi. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. So I did, try to, put some a range there for some of the school fees, tuition fees at this point. I would see if you're looking at maybe a low-cost school there, maybe from about 10K to 100,000 per term. Mid-range schools, 100 to 500K per term. Premium, 500,000 to about 2 million per term. Then we have the elite. That's about 2 million plus, going up per term. And we hear there's some that are really, really high. Depends on if you can afford that, as a parent. But there's a cost of living crisis. Talk to me about the strategy here you think parents in Nigeria can adopt to actually survive this season.
Thank you for having me once again, Ladi. So in terms of school fees, the first thing is for us to recognize that it doesn't just appear. We all know that school starts in September. We know that there will be things that we need to buy in terms of new school uniforms because children grow. So they grow out of their shoes, grow out of their uniforms. So we have to budget for those things. So for parents, the first thing really I would say is how did you decide on the school that your child is going to compared to your current income? I say that because you have just presented that there are different ranges of school fees. And I dare put it to you that the school doesn't necessarily predict the outcome of the child in the end, such that in deciding on that school, you also have to consider life and living right now. So for the parent, the first question is, how did you decide on the school that your child is attending? And then when you decide and decide from a goals perspective and also from a financial perspective, then how do you manage those fees as they come? Because they will come. The first thing will be to plan ahead. If you want to have a sinking fund, meaning an account where you just drop money monthly that adds up to the school fees that would come up in September, for example. So you could start in June, save for 3 months and have it ready, and then do the same for January. That's one option. Another option, if you have a capital, is that you could actually invest in something that would give you cash. For example, the savings bond in Nigeria that will give you cash quarterly. Right, so you just look at the interest rates of the savings bond and say, what amount of capital do I need to put away in this thing so that it will be dropping school fees money for me every quarter? That is another option. But I would say the most important thing is that parents need to plan and prepare for school fees because it will always come.
Right, and definitely we might see some parents have to maybe downgrade, so they don't have to, struggle to, pay those high fees at this time. But, we also have parents that say, you know what, my friend's kid goes to this school, and, I want my kid to go to that same school, even though it's really, really expensive, that's the tuition. What's your advice to those kind of parents?
So, the way they told us growing up, don't live like the Joneses, that will be it for me. Because fundamentally, it's your choice. You need to be able to manage the pressure that would come eventually. The friend that you are looking at might have the capacity to pay that fees without thinking, so you can't exactly compare yourself. Another thing I finally add, which is the most important thing, is that a parent that is available for the child, a parent that will support the child with learning, is more likely to guarantee success in the child's outcomes than a parent that sends their child to an expensive school. So in terms of focusing on the outcomes for the child, the school has its role, but if you're able to enforce or infuse some values like, or some habits like reading, for example, or be able to expose the child to technology at an early age using different things that are available and not necessarily expensive, you might be setting the child up better off than the parent sending the child to an expensive school. So in the end, it's your choice, but don't live like the Joneses.
Don't live like the Joneses. Okay, we're seeing more, banks, fintechs, microfinance institutions offering, school fee loans. Are these a lifeline or a potential debt trap?
In my opinion, a potential debt trap. I think that a loan should be the very last resort. Before you get to the point of taking a loan for school fees, because school fees is consumption. School fees, once it goes, you move to the next one. And then, especially when it's primary school, secondary school, even university, there are other options that will still get you to the same destination. So if it is a downgrade, you might want to consider that. That's one. Now, before you even get into loans, have you explored a payment plan with the school? That's another option, right? Because the interest rates are not smiling. Inflation is still high, therefore interest rates will be high and will be high for a while. So before you get into taking a loan, because even the interest would actually choke you, so before you get to taking that loan, consider installmental payments with the school, and then try and engage them before school fees is due, so it's not like a default. So have a conversation before the term starts and have that agreement and stick with it.
All right, there you have it. So we don't have to struggle when the next school season comes on. Thank you so much for your perspective, Oladele, founder, the Money With Club. Thank you. I'll take your advice.
Thank you. Thank you so much.